So hello. Assalamu alaikum. Umar here from the Muslim Entrepreneur book. I'm really excited to have a special guest today. As you can see, I'm already smiling because he just made a joke about my blazer. And brother Aman Ali, he is very well known in the Muslim circle and in a broader circle as well in America. And he's working on so many cool projects as well. And I'm really excited to have you here.
No, thanks for having
Welcome.
me. It's awesome, and I'm honored that you put on a blazer for me.
Yeah,
I gotta
yeah.
set my game up. All right, let's do this. I combed my beard, so I'll give you one of these. All right, there we go. All right.
Uh, okay. I feel jealous because I'm from Senegal and we we like beards, but we don't grow them. We can't.
Yeah, I have a lot of Senegalese friends, and yeah, I don't think they have a lot of facial hair. Interesting. It's just lots of water. Just I water it every day.
Mashallah. Yeah. So what's your background, by the way, when we're talking about beards and
Yeah, so I was born and raised in the United States. Ethnically, my family is from India. My parents came to America in probably like 30 or 40 years ago, so they've been here for a while. But grew up with a Muslim, born Muslim, raised Muslim, um, cultural household, speak Urdu at home.
Mhm.
Very typical of many Muslims here in the U.S. or even all over the world, where they might be born in one country, but their family might be from another or something like that. So yeah, pretty straightforward. And
Yeah.
then professionally, I went to I started off my career as a journalist, and so I worked as a reporter for Newsweek, USA
Mhm.
Today, and Reuters for a couple years. So I came from a writing and storytelling background, and
Yeah.
comedy, entertainment, storytelling, filmmaking. That I've been doing for about 9 years. Um, and yeah, I made the gradual transition
Yeah.
from traditional reporting into more my own content, my own filmmaking, my own storytelling. Probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I did that. So yeah.
Okay, mashallah. Do you have any storytellers in your family? What's the background behind that?
I think storytelling. I think my parents and just my relatives in general are just naturally good storytellers. And my dad,
Hmm.
um, just has incredible stories. He grew up on a farm. Like I grew up and went to college, did whatever, but like my dad grew up on a farm and sold chicken eggs, and like his father was murdered by a
Oh,
gang,
mashallah.
and so he
Oh,
has overcome some
no, no, no.
incredible struggles, right? And so
Mhm.
to go from that to moving halfway around the world, to live in America and working at a donut store and mopping the floors, and then moving his way up to buying the shop and then doing this and doing that. He's just had
Oh,
incredible struggles, and
mashallah. Yeah.
so many people in my family just have these stories where they literally just had a dream, decided to pursue it, and said, "You know what? I'm gonna go do that." That's so crazy to me. Like me, like I always think about it. I was like, my dad had a good education in India. Like his degree was in civil engineering, and he got a very cushy job.
Yeah.
Designing bridges and cities and this and that. And my mom, she had a degree in Farsi and Urdu poetry, and she could have got a very cushy university job teaching in India. And
Hmm.
both of them were just like, you know what? We're gonna move to America. Let's just do it. And
Let's
that was
just
it.
do
There
it.
was like no plan. There was
Yeah.
no like, let's just go. And so they didn't even know anybody in America, but they had a friend that lived in Chicago, and they just
Yeah.
stayed on his couch. Can you imagine being newly married and just being like, you know what? Hey,
Yeah.
baby, let's move 10,000 miles across the other side of the world to sleep on some guy's couch. Oh, great. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's go. Let's pack our bags and go. And they did that. Whereas
They did
me,
that.
if I want to do something they just impulsively moved halfway around the world. If
Hmm.
I want to hang out with someone, how long does it take to get your friends together on a Friday night? It takes like 5 days to text people. This person's
Yeah,
not
I
coming.
know. I
He
know.
doesn't show up. He says
Yeah.
inshallah he's gonna be there, but he doesn't come. He says he's on his way. He hasn't left the house. I can't even get like 5 people together play basketball. They moved halfway around the world. Like that just blows my mind. I know we're going on a tangent, but like I just can't process that kind of like thing. And so they would always tell me these stories growing up. And I think hearing about these struggles, and they literally gave up their hopes and dreams. My dad could have had a very cushy government job, and he decided to, in America, he couldn't really get any work, and so he just working at a donut store. My mom became like a daycare teacher.
And moved his way up. That's very inspiring. I mean.
And they literally gave up their hopes and dreams so that us kids could follow ours. You know, and that is something that I have never forgotten. That is one of the main reasons why I'm motivated to succeed, because I'm like, Ummi and Abu gave up. I put gray hairs on their head, you know, to do this. So I have to make sure I give it 110%. So
absolutely. Yeah.
I am blessed to follow my dreams and do literally whatever I want in life. If there's something I want, a project I want to do, I go do it. And they didn't have that luxury.
Some amazing projects, actually.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But it's really credit to them. It was that huge sacrifice that they made. Without that sacrifice, I wouldn't have been able to do any of this.
Yeah, I can relate because I'm from here. I'm from Dakar, and I know what it takes to. I moved to France and Canada. I know it's not easy. And for them to be working at a donut store, that's just amazing.
Yeah, subhanAllah. Like in any country, no matter where you are, like we are so blessed and privileged. Like we will never struggle half of the struggles that our parents went through. And it's amazing that they like came out intact. You know, we get depressed if we do bad on an exam. Imagine having no money like at all and like having to raise a family and a child. And alhamdulillah, like most of us have that privilege where we don't have to experience those same things, you know? And so those are the things that I always think about. And so when I'm complaining about my own problems, it helps me put a lot of those things into perspective.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, if the kid wants milk and you cannot provide, it's another ball game right there. And let's talk about what drove you to move into your own projects. You went into Reuters and some other famous companies.
Thank you. I think ever since I was a little kid, I was just attracted to stories, and it was stories from my family, watching the news, watching television. I've just always gravitated towards that. I've always I always wanted to hear people's stories when I was younger. I would go to the store and my mom would take me somewhere, and I would just ask the guy at the cashier at line and be like, what do you like about your job? And I would just always ask questions, and I was always fascinated by why people do things. And we literally would stop. My mom would get so annoyed. She's like, "Aman, stop! Like, we're going home. Like, we're at the restaurant. Like, let's stop." But I'd always ask, like, why? What do you like about your job? What about cooking and this and that? And so I was always that person. And so it was no surprise for me to get into that field. Obviously, my parents, because they struggled, they didn't want me to go into writing. They didn't want me to go into storytelling because they're just like, well, how are you going to make money? Like, we used to mop floors, and I had to work 3 jobs, and I don't want you to have to go through the same thing. And your older brothers are all doctors, so why don't you just go into that? I'm like, no, that's not me at all. And I had to fight. And I'll be honest with you, it was very tough. Like, it was lots of yelling, lots of arguments, and I said many things I'm not proud of, and lots of fights and this and that. But it wasn't that they didn't it's not that they didn't appreciate what I was doing. They were just worried. They were just like, we don't want you to struggle the way we did. And the moment I realized that them being against it came from a place of love, it just motivated me to work harder. Because they were just like, how are you going to make money doing this? And I'm kind of glad that they were against it at first, because it just forced me to really put together a plan and to give this my all and to really give everything. Because I kind of feel like if they didn't do that, I probably just would have just coasted and just done mediocre, just
Be
trying to get
average.
by. Exactly. And I don't think I'd been able to succeed or do any of the things I've done unless they planted that seed in me, you know, that put that fire in my belly to like, no,
Yeah.
get up, keep going.
Feel that fire inside of you that push you.
Um,
Tell me a story.
I think I've always, I think I've always had that, that motivation. I'm into sports, and so I'm very competitive. And so when not in a
What
bitter
sports?
basketball, love basketball.
Okay.
And I've always just growing up read stories about Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, even guys today, LeBron, Stephen Curry, and you hear about like what drives them. I'm not comparing myself to them because they're obviously like incredible athletes, but their drive is something that motivates me, that inspires me. And so for me, as far as competitive, I remember when I was a reporter at USA Today, I just graduated college. I was 22 years old, and I was literally the only person in the newsroom that was under the age of 40. I look around the room, there's all these old guys, and I said to myself, I'm going to make sure I kick everyone's ass in here. Part of my language. I'm going to make sure I beat everybody in here. Not out of pettiness, but I'm like, I want to be the best. Doesn't mean I'm like, I was 22. And I've always had the mentality. I want people to succeed. You know, I don't hate on people, but I want to be the best at it. That doesn't mean I'm going to step on you or hate on you and this and that. But if we're going at it, may the best man win.
A place of strength. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's not a place of bitterness or hasad or, you know, any kind of jealousy. It's not that at all. I'm genuinely happy for my friends. But when they do well, I'm like, oh man, he did that. All right, I got to step my game up. Oh, she's doing that. Okay, I got to step my game up. I'm happy for their success. I'm so happy. I'm celebrating them. I'm hanging out with them. Like, yo, Mabruk, awesome, blah, blah, blah. But I use it as motivation. I'm just like, no, I got to step it up.
Yeah.
I think, oh, this is a funny story. I had a show, this is a couple years ago, and the organizer was like, hey, come on, we want to book you for this comedy event hotel. Absolutely. Like, I'm not a diva. Like, I would love to save someone in. You know, it's better than being in a room by myself.
Say it again.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, say it again.
Yeah, so I was doing a comedy event. This is a couple of years ago in Chicago.
Yeah.
And one of the organizers, you know, booked me for the event. We agreed to sign a contract, honorarium, all that stuff. But then he was like, hey, our budget's a little tight. You know, I know we're supposed to put you in a hotel for the night, but our budget's a little tight. Can you just stay at someone's house for us? Can you stay at one of the someone in our community? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I would love to stay with someone. And it's better than being by myself in a hotel. Sure. So I go to this guy's house. He picks me up from the airport. And he was an older Indian man, nice person, picks me up. And he's like, so what do you do for a living? And I said, I'm a comedian. I'm a writer. I'm a performer. This is what I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, oh, but what's your real job? And I'm like, I do this. And he's like, no. Like, this is your hobby, but like, what do you actually do? I was like, this is my job. This is my career. This isn't a job. This is my life. This is my career. Alhamdulillah, this is what I do for a living. And he's like, why? And then he says, what, you weren't good at school? Like, you couldn't get into law school? You couldn't get into medicine? And I'm just like, what? I was annoyed, but I'm just like, you know what? Whatever. He doesn't know. That's okay. But he wouldn't leave it alone. Yeah. He just kept asking. He's like, why are you doing this? Like, what made you want to do this? And I don't have any problem with him being against comedy. I'm just like, whatever. But I'm confused. I'm like, why they make me stay with this guy? But whatever.
Yeah.
And so then what happens when he said that was like kindled to my fire. I was just like, okay. I don't have to defend myself to you, but motivation, okay. So that night he takes me to the show, and I was just like, all right, I'm gonna give this crowd my all tonight. I was like so fired up. And then I get on stage. Alhamdulillah, the crowd was amazing. They were super supportive, and they were laughing and enjoying it. Alhamdulillah, it was a really good show, thanks to them. And then I get off stage, and the guy comes up to me, and he's like, "Oh, mashallah, mashallah. That was amazing. That was amazing. By the way, have you met my daughter?" I was like, wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Mashallah.
But
What
that's
a
okay.
nice story. Yeah.
You know, that's okay. I'm not bitter about those things. When people write you off, I don't hold grudges. Oh, man, you didn't believe in me back then. Oh, man, you didn't like me then. But that's just fuel to my fire.
Sometimes it can be a test as well, because many people say, I am following my dream, but they don't give it their all.
Right.
So by them resisting, they
Absolutely.
kind of test your strengths as well.
All the people that said no, like, I give them full credit. Like, when Michael Jordan retired and he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, normally when you get inducted, it's a huge honor. You thank your teammates, you thank your coaches. Michael Jordan spent 10 minutes talking about his high school basketball coach as a child that cut him from a team. This is the man that's won 6 championships, one of the greatest players of all time, and still can't get over this coach from like 40 years ago. And he was just like, hey, man, you made a mistake, but thank you. You know, that was motivation. That's what I needed. And I didn't understand that until it was motivation for him. And I'm that exact same way. All those people that are just like, oh, you're not that funny, or, man, that seems kind of whack, that project you're trying to do. That writing project, this project, that film, that's kind of dumb. I'm like, thank you. I'm not offended. I'm not bitter. I don't get insecure and like, oh, I'll show you. It's not about that. It just fueled my fire. I'm like, okay, just means I got to work harder. Every time somebody says no, I'm just like, okay, just means I got to work harder.
Just work harder. Yeah, absolutely. I can relate, because I was in France once, and, you know, in Senegal, we speak French. We have another language at home, but English was zero. My English was
Do you guys speak Wolof at home?
Wolof, yeah. You know Wolof.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I had this teacher in France where I was the most terrible student in the class, in the entire class. And one time I got 0.75 out of 20.
Oh, no.
Okay, that was my mark. I couldn't do a single question, really. It was bad. And he lectured me in front of everybody, like, yeah, you just can't do this, blah, blah, blah. Like, you'll never be good, so to speak. And today I have a book. I'm like, wow, nice, speak English. It took me a while to get there, but really, I can relate to stories like that.
Where do you think you would be, though, if he didn't do that?
I would just be coasting like everybody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's the challenge is you figured out a way to channel that into motivation, because there's many people, when somebody says something like that, it just turns off part of the brain. They're like, okay, I'm done. Okay, I'm not very good at this. I'm gonna just give up.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the challenge is taking that negative energy and channeling it.
How do you view that Islamically? Do you what do you use from your Islam, from your upbringing?
I mean, Islamically, that's the Prophet ﷺ, right? When there was a neighbor that threw trash at him, and he would say thank you, right? And the day that the neighbor wasn't throwing trash, he went to the house and said, hey, is everything okay? Like, you didn't throw trash at me. Like, what happened? And that kind of sabr, I think, is what has helped me get through this the most. Because, you know, it's easy to get frustrated. Like, alhamdulillah, I've had a lot of success, but I've also had a lot of failure. Sabr, I think without my deen, like, I don't think I'd be able to succeed any of these things. Because in any kind of profession, whether it's entertainment, finance, business, it's very easy to look at something like, well, how come I've been doing this 5 years, 10 years, been trying this, investing this, doing that. But that guy or that girl over there has only been doing this for 5 months or 1 year, and they're doing all this, and they're all this successful, and look at me, and getting frustrated. We've all gone through that, right? It's like, that guy is so successful. He's only been doing a year. I've been doing this 5 years, 10 years, and I can't get anywhere. What's going on with that? And the reason why that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, your talents can only take you so far. There has to be a point where Allah says, I want that person to succeed right now, and I want that person to succeed right now, and that person's going to succeed later. Because that's the only way to make sense of everything. So when I'm successful, I'm able to put that in perspective. Because when you're successful, you're able to, it's very easy to be like, yo, I'm awesome. I'm amazing, right? But then you realize I'm amazing because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me this opportunity and made this thing popular. And I think sometimes we forget that. And so now when I fail, I can look at that and be like, just wasn't meant to be. All right, back to the drawing board. Let's try it again.
Yes, exactly. And absolutely. Some people, let's say you get rich and then you say it's because of the knowledge you have, instead of thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's powerful.
No, absolutely. Like, your talent in life can only take you so far. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes you the rest. There's a reason why Eddie Murphy was only doing comedy for like a year before he became one of the biggest comedians of all time. Whereas it took Dave Chappelle 15 to 20 years before anybody ever heard of him. It's just Allah as well. Allah says, I want this person to succeed now, and I want this person to succeed in something else later. It's just all that it is.
Later, yeah, it's just written. And you just have to strive very hard. But how come you didn't give up?
I think it's passion. I love what I do. And so for me, I would be doing this, like, I would be posting videos online if 100 people were watching it, as opposed to now where it's like a couple thousand or tens of thousands, whatever. Or I would be making jokes if nobody laughed, as opposed to 1,000 people laughing. It just, that place of joy. And so I think it's very easy to use dollar signs and metrics like page views, video views, likes on Facebook, follows on Instagram. You know, I think in today's society, we use these to validate ourselves. And that's a very dangerous thing because, okay, let's say one day you post something on Facebook and it gets 500 likes. You're like, whoa, amazing. I'm awesome. This is great. But then say the next day you post something and only 2 people like it. And then you're like, oh, I'm a failure. I'm no good. That's a problem. And so
we all go through that.
Yeah. And we shouldn't use other people and these other metrics to validate who we are as people. And that's a very difficult thing to get out of, because I think we're all prone to it. I'm victim of it and this and that. It took me a very long time to get out of that. And so what keeps me going is just the genuine love. I'm just like, I'm having fun doing this. I'm literally doing whatever I want. I work with my brother. We're buddies. And we just come up with crazy ideas to do things. And we go out and do it. And alhamdulillah, like, we've had a good success. And we've had many failures. But when we fail, we're just like, oh, well, at least we had fun trying. And we gave it everything.
Absolutely. What's your thinking? What do you think about when you're posting something? Like, do you think, oh, these people will judge me, let me make it funny? Or you just giving it?
I only write about things that I have a sincere opinion about. There's some things that are popular in the news, and I could sit and comment on them. But if I don't care, then I don't care. I'm sure if I said something that went viral, I could have been on CNN, I could have done this, I could have done that. But I just didn't. It wasn't in my heart. And so the only thing that goes on in my mind when I post something is, am I being real, right? Is that the same Aman that I look in the mirror and see? And I make sure that my voice and myself is truly in every single one of those things. And I've said some stupid things online and some things I regret, but It was truly what I thought. Even though I was wrong, it was my true sentiment.
It really happens to all of us. We're not perfect.
And I only do things creatively that I sincerely am passionate about and sincerely excited about. There's plenty of things I could do that could go viral, but I just don't care about. Like, for example, I could do YouTube videos where I do an Indian accent and I dress up like my parents and do some silly thing or whatever, and that could get millions of views, right? But my parents are awesome. They're well educated. My mom has 2 degrees, and they're very intelligent people. Like, why would I imply that they're backwards or dumb and this and that? Like, I have nothing to make fun of them about.
Can you make a Senegalese accent?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not going to do that. You know, I am very okay with a video only getting 1,000 views as opposed to 1 million. If I feel like that is what I believe in, that is who I am, and I gave this my all. And I've always lived by that philosophy. And it's crazy. The moment I stopped caring about how successful this would be, that's when the success started coming in. And it really took me by surprise. I'm just like, whoa. And I've always lived by that philosophy. As long as I'm having fun and as long as I'm being me, those 2 things, the rest is history.
So people really connect with that. And I think there is a hadith about that, where when you are truthful and then Allah loves a servant, he calls out to the angels and say, I love so-and-so, and make people love him, etc.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think sometimes we stress out about so many things, right? When you want to open up a business, you think, oh man, I might have money to open it, but what am I going to do in 6 months? Like, oh, how am I going to sustain this and that? When you put your heart into something, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ways of taking care of you. You know, when you take 1 step towards him, he takes 10 steps to you, right? And you come with him walking, he comes to you running.
Right.
And when I talk to people that are going into entertainment or comedy or filmmaking, they're like, yeah, I want to do this, but how am I going to make a living doing this? Dude, don't worry about it. Just go make videos. Go shoot something. If you want to make a career, if that's what you want to do down the road, what can you do great. But right now, focus on your job or starting this or doing that. Don't stress out about that. Focus on what is in front of you and do that. And inshallah, if it's meant to be, Allah will open up these doors. And I see so many people that are just like, yeah, I've always wanted to do this, but I don't know how what's going to happen to me in a year. And what if this shop doesn't do well? Don't worry about that. I think that's important because I think there's so many of us, right, that have ideas and have dreams and we just don't do anything with that. And that breaks my heart because, like, when you're a little kid, everybody dreams, oh, I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a basketball. I want to be a soccer player, a football player. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a scientist. Nobody ever says, when I grow up, I want to be a financial analyst for some commercial bank.
No, nobody.
Nobody does. Everybody has dreams of being an actor, a dancer, a singer, and this and that. But for some reason, somewhere, someone or something tells us, no, you can't do that. How are you going to make money doing that? No, you need to do this. What about a family? What about this? What about that? And I wonder why that is. And so what happens is you have these dreams and they die. And you live a life where, alhamdulillah, you're happy. You have a loving husband, a loving wife, beautiful children. You're successful, but your soul is not complete. There's still a part of you that feels like, I wish I did that. I wish I did that. And I never want to have that feeling. Alhamdulillah, I don't have that feeling. I never want to have that feeling of, I wish, because that eats at you. That takes a toll on you. That affects relationships. That affects family. Where that I wish feeling, that can be very detrimental to your health. And so I make sure that I never have that feeling in anything that I do. Everything I've done is because I wanted to do it.
Very, very deep. I heard someone say the definition of hell is the person that you are meeting, the person you should have become. And really, if you took that step to become successful.
Yeah. And look at the Prophet ﷺ, right? He was 40 years old when the message came.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, oh, I want to do this, but I'm too old now. Like, I got a wife, I got kids. So did he.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'm not comparing ourselves to the Prophet ﷺ, one of the best of creation. But I'm saying, like, nobody peaks. Everybody kind of feels like, oh, I've peaked. You know, I'm 25, I'm 30, I'm 35, I'm 40, I'm 45. So I don't have any time left. No, that's
so
not true. Everybody, there's so many examples, men and women, that have done incredible things later in life, early in life. You can't look at one person and be like, well, this guy started, I want to do in this field, but this guy opened up his first business at 13 or at 17. I'm 25 now, I'm too late. What? No, you're not. Don't be silly.
Yeah.
But I'm 35. Who cares? I'm not saying do something reckless and go into debt or quit your job or this or that, but don't keep those dreams alive. Even if, like I said, maybe you want to open up a business, right? And nobody says you have to quit your job. Do something on the side. Do an online shop. Go sell at a local store. Do something with friends just to keep that passion. And if Allah wants you to do something bigger and broader with that, let that happen, but don't kill the dream. And that's what I tell people.
Yes, absolutely. Keep those dreams alive. So hear it from Brother Aman. Really, I'm really getting fired up just listening to you.
Oh, thank you.
Alhamdulillah. And now, how does your business model work? And how can someone get started and become successful in your field?
Absolutely. So I started off just by being like a traditional comedian, right? Now, get on stage, tell jokes and this and that. And alhamdulillah, I had the privilege of just traveling and hearing people's stories and struggles and this and that. And I'm just like, nobody's talking about these issues. Nobody's talking about depression. Nobody's talking about heartbreak. Nobody's talking about stress. Nobody's talking about this or that. And I wanted to use the stage as a platform to do that. And so after that, I started doing other projects. I did this project, 30 Mosques in 30 Days, where my friend and I, we went in the United States, we went to a different state every day during Ramadan. And we did a documentary project, blogging about it, writing about it. And alhamdulillah, it was a big success. And I think slowly but surely from those things, I was like, we need to talk about these issues. We need to talk about these stories. We need to do this. We need to do that. And so it kind of just snowballed. And I realized in my field, there's a big vacuum of stories about Muslims. Just any kind of stories. Positive, negative, anything that just felt real, because the stories of Muslims on television were either extremists or people that just don't really represent Islam. Just like some uptight, you know, I'm a Muslim and I'm an American and I'm this. Like, dude, that's not me. Like, where's the guy that looks like me? Where's the guy that plays basketball or just hangs out at a hookah lounge and like kicks it with his friends? Like, that's not me. And so I always felt like Islam was only talked about in a terrorism context, whether it was extremists like ISIS or people condemning terrorism. That, oh, we're not like this. I'm like, yeah, but nobody knows who we are. What about our love life? What about our social lives? What about our, what do we like to do for fun? You know, what about these things?
Yeah, aspirations, business.
And I wanted to start telling those stories. And that's how I got started, was realizing that there's nobody else out there that's really doing this. And after I started creating my own content, a couple people started noticing. Google reached out and said, hey, there needs to be more Muslim American storytellers. We'd like to work with you. And so we launched this project that I'm working on now called Homegrown Homies, where we travel around the United States just telling interesting stories about Muslims or about humans that just happen to be Muslim. We're working on a documentary film, and we've shot a couple other things. And so this has just all come from just staying patient and staying passionate.
Oh, mashallah.
You're not worrying about, our first video only got like 20, 30,000 views. So like, oh man, we need to get 100. Oh, we didn't worry about that. We said, you know what? Let's just get it out there. Let's just put it out. And then slowly but surely, the thing started growing. And really how we got started was just that passion and realizing like, why are we doing this? We're doing this because we love doing this. And we're doing this because we sincerely love doing this. This is who we are. This is what we're passionate about. And those are the things that motivated me. I told myself the moment I get bored doing this, I'm quitting everything. I'm getting out of the way and making way for somebody else. Because it is such a blessing and it's such a privilege from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have this gift and to have these opportunities. And if I don't enjoy it, I'm giving else and just getting out of the way. So yeah.
Absolutely. So, and then how do you generate revenue? Like, how does it work? Is it from stage? You get revenue or?
Yeah, so it's many things. And so what I've done is through my Facebook page, I post, and you've probably seen it, like I post lots and lots of stories and statuses and jokes and this and that. And I've been able to profit from that, not directly from Facebook per se, but people are constantly thinking about me, thinking about my statuses. They're sharing them, talking about it. So when it comes to an event, I'm the first person they think of because they're constantly seeing me every day post something, right?
Okay.
And so I get paid to perform and speak and this and that. And then I'm able to get on TV to do some of this stuff. And so when I'm trying to do a film project, I can go to an investor and be like, okay, give me $30,000 because look at the audience that I've built. Look at this network that I've done. Look at this and look at that. And I'm able to get funding to not only fund the project, but also to support myself. And so it just came from hustling. It just came from constantly taking the time to do stuff. Social media, I think people are just like, well, how do I profit from doing this? You profit by just getting your brand out there. And that's what I see myself as, like, my brand. And I put stories out there all the time. Some do well, some don't do well, whatever. I'm just constantly posting stuff day in and day out, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day if it's something I have to say. And so I'm able to make a living doing it because then somebody books me for an event, I can do a gig, I can shoot.
Yeah, it just rolls from there. And how do you find those stories?
Project, and do stuff like that. So.
Oh yeah, okay. I lost you for a second here. I think I lost you for a second.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here now.
Okay.
All right.
I said it just rolls from there slowly, and then you build the audience.
The money comes. Like I said, the moment I stop, I don't stress about those things. Alhamdulillah, like, not to brag, but I'm able to support myself. I'm not rich. I'm not loaded. I'm not going to lie to you and be like, oh, I'm balling or, whatever. I live in New York City. Alhamdulillah, like, I don't struggle, but I don't drive like a Mercedes or whatever. But I'm okay with that. Like, I can support myself and still do what I love and not have to stress about, oh, I don't have this much money in my bank account. I can't do that. So I'm at a very happy place. And the moment I stopped caring about how am I going to make money doing this, how am I going to do how to do that, that's when the money started coming in. And that's where the support and the finances came in, is the moment I stopped looking at that stuff.
Okay, it just came naturally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, just to end, who was your earliest mentor? How did you seek out some mentors to get into your field?
It was weird because there aren't many Muslims that are doing what I'm doing, right? There's so many more now. I've been doing this for 9 years, and there were a few, and I did reach out to them, and they were great. Azur Usman, Preacher Moss, like, those guys are fantastic and were great mentors to me. I always pick people's brain and advice, but I think it was kind of exciting because in entertainment, there's really no set way to do something. Because in medicine or science, you go to this college, you pass this exam, you take this, you get this job, this internship, and this. comedy, entertainment, there's some people that blow up after 20 years, and some people blow up after 1 year. There's really so
Yeah,
I
there's
would
no
get
room.
advice from people, but to me, I would just look at other people's success. Oh, he's doing that. Okay, I gotta do that. Oh, he's doing that. Okay, I gotta set my game up. And I would just kind of just look around me. So I didn't really have one particular mentor.
Yeah.
I think I had many people like Azur Usman, Preacher Moss that gave me some pointers and some advice and opened a lot of great doors, and I'm super thankful for that. But I think it was really just kind of just doing my own thing, kind of figuring it out for myself too. And now that I'm at that place of privilege, I'm more than happy to share what I've done with other people. And that's why I would love to do this is kind of like, why should I have all the fun, right? I figured this out, and I had a lot of failures. So maybe somebody doesn't have to go through the struggles that I did. And I hope that if I share this with somebody, that they're going to be 10 times more successful than I am. That's what I want. I want people to surpass the foundations that I want, and yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. That's very exciting. So, Jazakumullah khairan for sharing such important knowledge, which we learn from other people.
Thank you.
That's how we're able to build it. And
you got to try. And I think that's the scariest thing. People don't live a life of I shoulda. Just at least say, you know what, I failed, but at least I gave it my all. At least I tried doing it.
And any last word to make us laugh a little bit?
I think the only obstacle to success is yourself. I'm the strongest believer of that. I've always believed that, and it's something that's always motivated me. The reason why I haven't done this or haven't done that is because of myself. So something to live by.
Absolutely. So again, you heard from brother Aman Ali, and Jazakumullah. I'm just so fired up to be sharing this information with everybody here. Jazakumullah.
Well, Yakum, thanks for having me. And again, thank you for putting on the blazer for me.